it says we're live.
Yeah, well, it does. Yes, yeah.
And,
Funny, I was watching Cheddar Kung Pao and Chris, the guitar pick. They still using. I think they were using OBS and Skype. Chris was skyping into like a complete nightmare to me.
Did you tell them about StreamYard?
I'm sure Cheddar knows about StreamYard. You know, he's an IT bloke. You know, other people are using it. You know, but I just wonder why they hadn't been.
I just think it's phenomenal. It's just
it's fine, isn't it? Yeah.
It's phenomenal to use. It's just
is it easy to set up? Is it easy to set up in a
Yeah. You know that issue that we had when you were dropping out and I couldn't get you, and there was no, and that was because I was using I wasn't using Google Explorer. I was using the
Internet Explorer rather than Chrome. Yeah.
Which is a bad.
Yeah. Making things operate. Yes, browser specific is a bit annoying, isn't
it? Yeah. But no, but this is good. This is so like if I put you there now, so you're presented now, so it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
You know?
And then you can move us around, can't you, and stuff like that. And who was I watching the other day? I was watching Henning Poley with
yeah.
So, but they weren't using it. So it was like you was thinking to yourself, God, they had one bloke in the middle here, and they had loads of echo and all sorts of stuff. Mike, the Johnny Guitar Skeptic, came in. It was like it was always echo and doubled. It was blind, like guys, and and the one was imposed over the other and stuff. It's like just go on StreamYard. You may have a silly duck in the corner, but it's all right.
I just think it's fantastic. The sound quality, the video quality. You just go back and have a look at some of the videos we do, Simon. It's
quality, the video quality,
pretty good.
There we are. Rookie error.
and
I can say good morning, Gussie Wells. How you doing?
G'day, Gussie.
Hope you're good. Yeah.
Always good to see Gussie.
Yeah. Early riser.
Yeah. Okay. So, how's your week been, buddy?
It's been pretty good, actually. Yeah. I'm. My family have gone away for the weekend. They went to they've gone to a festival called Car Fest, which is it's a kind of it's got cars in it. It fits the title, and it's a kind of music festival. I mean, it isn't anything that I've been once, but it's camping, and believe you me, camping for me these days means it has to have Hilton over the door. Tents, God. The trouble. I tell you what, the real trouble is you might reckon that everything happens like that far off the ground when you're camping.
Yes.
Oh, man of my age, you can't operate down there. Got to operate 2.5 feet off that ground. Otherwise, I'm failing. Otherwise, there's a lot of groaning and a lot of going on. So,
I appreciate your honesty. What happened? What did I do to Simon? Where's Simon? Did I do something to Simon? Hello. What happened to Simon? Hello, Simon. Did I do something to Simon? Did I do something to you?
I think it was something at my end. Obviously, some glitch or other. You get them occasionally, don't you? It's all right. Well, the good thing is it says, you've been knocked out. Do you want to go back in? Yeah, all right, then carry on.
Yeah. So, see, and that's so much easier too.
Yeah, no much about. But yes, that's my camping thing. Oh dear, all that groaning, too much groaning for me. Trying to get up. The indignity of kind of crawling around on your hands and knees, trying to find something to pull yourself up on, to get vertical. No, it's a young people's sport.
Yes. Yeah.
Said the man whose dad used to go camping in Scotland until he was about 85.
No, a man's got to know his limitations, doesn't he? Is that the famous Dirty Harry line?
That's exactly it. Man's got a limitation, and frankly, that's my limitation. So I'm not at Carfest. I mean, it's cars, and they have bands from about 4 o'clock, but I mean, it's not really my thing. They had the Jacksons, for instance, last night. Yeah, but the trouble is, there's the Jacksons who are all in their 70s without the talented one. Sorry, all those Jackson fans out there, but that's the truth of it, isn't it? It's isn't that what it's like? And so it's
the talented one's dead.
The talented one, sadly, shuffled off his mortal coil, leaving the slightly less talented ones. You can tell this because every chance they got him in to do a record with them so that it would be more popular. And I'm not. I went a couple of years ago and they were there, and it becomes a tribute act.
Yeah.
It becomes a kind of I'm gonna do some old. You just knock out the hits, and it's like, oh, and I can't really be doing that. And they were last night I was talking to them, and in the back, and they had an Oasis tribute band and stuff like that. So, they have people in it, but it's not really my thing, to be honest. The music is not really my thing. If the music's not my thing, I'm not coming.
Dare I say it, Simon, that the Rolling Stones are becoming a tribute of their own band too?
Well, they do. Yes. Don't you think? I mean, everyone is, though, don't they? The classic thing they shout at American concerts, do some old. Never mind the new stuff. Get back to the stuff we know. But I think, what else do they do? How else do you keep it? It becomes a business, as we've discussed before. That classic kind of Eagles thing where it's become a business, and you go out and tour, and you play hotel. Hello, we've got a visitor.
I can still hear you, Simon. Just hold on. I'm going to open up the door. Hold on. Keep talking, please.
That's right. Yeah. That it becomes a business. You become somebody who's made a lot of money in the past from rock music, and So what do? You go out, and the majority of people, the majority of your audience, any of our audiences really, are kind of getting older with you.
Yeah.
So you take by implication, you kind of osmosis really. You get turned into a heritage act. Somebody who plays their hits from days gone by, and I think the Stones are no different to that. I mean, I don't know. What was their last album called? That blues album, Blue and Lonesome.
Yeah.
Do they play any stuff of that of their recent gigs they've just been doing?
No idea. No, but I've read a couple of reviews from guys who are Stones nuts, and they're just saying it's a bit tough to watch, Simon. Hey heck.
Yeah. But good morning, Mr. Guitar Hack. How you doing? Hope you're good. Thanks for joining. Yeah, but I think that in a sense there's nowhere else to go with it, is there? Even someone like Bruce Springsteen, who brings out new records and stuff, and does new stuff, and he'll do one or two. But for the main part, their audience is my age and older, and that's what you go for, don't you? If you went to the Stones gig, and this is their dichotomy, and they didn't play Satisfaction or Brown Sugar, or they didn't play Jumpin' Jack Flash,
Start Me Up,
You Start Me Up, yeah. You'd be like, you'd be disappointed, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
There's a part of you that would go, I mean, I suppose the real issue is that they no longer write songs as good as those.
Hey,
actually, the issue is, so that, morning, Phil Mosley, how you doing? That they don't, because for me, that's the real reason, because they don't write songs like they used to, that now, all they have is their heritage. Look at Aerosmith. Doing a residency in Las Vegas. The ultimate tribute back to their own tribute. Yes.
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting? You talk about dichotomies. It's amazing, isn't it? You've got generations of people going to Stones gigs. You've got Mick rapping. You've got Keith playing a little bit of air guitar.
Scurrilous accusation, yes.
and they produced a great blues album a couple of years ago, but really haven't produced anything, substantially amazing. But yet their tours, Simon, $1 million enterprises.
Yeah, they make, they each make, what's it, $10-15 million off them, off the bank, and in that case, and if people still want to go and see you, they're still selling out stadiums, aren't they?
Sure. Sure.
And what do you do? I mean, sort of the ultimate weird bit to me is that you get into a position where, I don't know what you do. So you go out and you be your own heritage act. Why wouldn't you? I would if I would, because that people still want to see you play. They still want to go out and play, obviously. So, there's no harm in it, is there? But the ultimate thing I have is that there's a group called the Australian Doors. I don't know if you've come across them.
Yeah, they toured New Zealand.
They tour here. And they tour 3,000-seater, indoor, the local municipal hall type. They sell out. They'll sell 2,500 tickets, no problems at all. And they're a covers band. Not quite,
but they look good. They look good too.
No, it looks fantastic, and they got the show, and we've got Pink Floyd. For those bands, you're never going to be able to see those bands again. So they're the next best thing, and in many ways, they might play it better than those bands because they've played them for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. But going back to Harry's thing, people want to go and see them. If nobody wanted to go and see them, and they went back to playing clubs, and they'd probably retire, But I think they've realised, haven't they? They've realised that as the sort of first generation of certainly white rock stars, that it's a career. And when that classic thing that Ringo said, when asked how long it might carry on with the Beatles, he said, "Well, if it carries on for another year and I get a couple of hairdressing salons out of it, I'll be happy."
Yeah.
And, it's gone from that to this, this kind of massive money-making, tours that they do. But people want to go and see them. So,
Brian Jones said the same thing. Look, if we're here next year, and they were talking about 12 months. If we're here next year, we've done well.
So, 1964. Yeah. So I think that it's, and that's fine. And I don't, people are going to make a living, and if people want to see you, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you go out and do a tour and do, I think is absolutely fine.
I've seen a few.
Let's face it, you know what you're going to get, don't you? Nobody's pulling the wool over your eyes. If you're going to see the Rolling Stones, you're going to see a bunch of 70-plus-year-old guys playing their old hits.
I've seen a few Beatles tribute bands over the years, Simon, and the best tribute band I saw were some guys from Australia, and they didn't look like the Beatles. They purposely, they don't go through the wearing the suits and then doing the mid-60s and then changing like some of the other Beatle bands, tribute bands do. They just played, and my gosh, they were phenomenal. They put their effort into sounding as close to the Beatles as possible. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my brother-in-law played in a Beatles tribute band. He was George. Wow.
But the guy who did it, the guy who kind of ran it, the bass player, I mean, he had old Vox gear and all sorts of stuff, that kind of, period-specific stuff, and then Rickenbackers and blah, blah. Yeah.
So your brother played Gretschers. Your brother-in-law had Gretschers and AC30 amps.
They had AC30s for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. Yeah. The guy who ran it, as I say, was a bit of a, he's a Beatles guy, and he wanted to do it, and so he bought, he had like Vox PAs and stuff. My memories and things, make it period authentic.
Yeah. That was pretty much the band that I saw. They had the vintage gear, and the guy was talking, during the interlude, saying that this is important. that the fact that they're middle aged and they can't fit into Beatles suits and wear Cuban heel boots. They accept that, but what's important though is that they have Yeah. But what's important is that they have, the Hofner basses and the Gretches.
Yeah.
So,
And and in many ways, probably played the Beatles better than the Beatles, because the Beatles didn't do it for that long, did they? They didn't play their own songs for that long, and by, was it 66, they'd stopped touring, 65? So, so all those songs they'd only played for sort of maybe 3 or 4 years, out on the road. And if you've done them for 20
apparently
years...
they didn't sound... Well, apparently they didn't sound very good live, Simon, too, when they were touring the States. They were just playing through those stadium PAs.
I'm sure that, yes, I'm sure that they absolutely didn't sound very good in any of those places, because it's their pre kind of big PAs and stuff like that. And you're right, playing through those stadium PAs and things like that. Completely lacking in actually what you need to make yourself in. I mean, all you hear was, I know in the early days, all they heard was the screaming.
So what was important for the fans back then was seeing the Beatles as opposed to hearing them.
I think, wasn't it? I think that's what it was. It was seeing them rather than hearing them.
Is Heck off, is he?
Yeah, he's off. I think so. Yeah. Don't go to bed. Quite rightly.
Cheers, Heck. Always a pleasure to catch up with you. Love your channel, Heck. Love your channel. Your videos are inspiring and inspirational. Keep up the good work, man.
His Led Zeppelin stuff the other night was pretty good.
Oh,
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Me too. And like I said, I'm going through a bit of a Led Zeppelin phase at the moment. So that was just everything I needed. So awesome.
Just interestingly, just going back to the heritage acting. See, for me, the one guy who sort of avoided it is Robert Plant.
Why?
Interestingly,
why?
Because I think because he keeps saying, "I'm not going back." Because they've obviously had offers to reform
big
Led
time.
Zeppelin,
big time,
big offers.
Yes,
and he's. My understanding is that. Maybe it's not all him, but Jimmy Page would love to do it because he doesn't have a band other than he does Led Zeppelin. But see, Robert Plant has decided, didn't he? I'm going to do other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to do new stuff. If I can then incorporate some Led Zeppelin, but he still does some Led Zeppelin songs, doesn't he?
Yep.
The one thing he likes, like he'll do Kashmir and stuff with, whatever, which I think is, which is, he can adapt it into his new style with his, the bands that he has now. But I think he's pretty much played his own, ploughed his own furrow, gone his own way, and said, I'm going to be creative. What I want is to mix with creative guys and create new stuff, not just to live on my heritage. And I understand him. I've heard him talking about it. He's got a really good podcast, by the way.
Yeah,
there's a really good Robert Plant podcast. There's about 5 episodes that he digs deep into particular songs and stuff and talks about them. That singing a song you wrote when you were 19, he has problems with that, which I understand. It's a long way back, 19, isn't it? 50 years for him, kind of thing. And you're like, I kind of understand why you don't, we getting yourself into that mindset is difficult, hard work.
I also think,
I admire him
Simon,
for not doing it.
I also think it comes down to the type of guy that you are, because let me give you an example. I'm a certain age, and and the guys I hang out with are of obviously my vintage too.
Yeah.
And I catch up with a couple of guys who refuse to grow up, who are still stuck in 1986, still dye their hair, still
really blunt. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So without getting psychological, I think it's a state of mind for a lot of guys. The fact that Robert Plant doesn't need to reinvent the past, means that he's financially secure anyway through Led Zeppelin. But he's also an artist, because a lot of artists don't want to go back and relive their past. They want to be groundbreaking. They want to be revolutionary. They want to be at the point of something new. And Robert Plant certainly is one of those guys. Look at that country album he did a few years ago, which upset a lot of people.
Oh, Raging Sounds with Alison Krauss, which is a fantastic record. Yeah.
Upset lots of people.
And the follow-ups are really good as well. The one he did with the kind of Jester cover. That's really good as well. Yeah, upset a lot of people because it's not kind of, But I think But
if you listen to his singing on that album, his singing is beautiful.
Yeah. Had to learn to sing with somebody else. Control yourself. Which I think that's interesting for those artists. But for me, the thing he sacrificed, of course, is he no longer sells out stadiums, does he? When he goes on tour, he doesn't sell out stadiums like that anymore. Well, I don't think he'll do festivals and things like that, and but he doesn't. When he tours, he's not selling out, football stadiums, 50,000 people, which he would be doing with Led Zeppelin. But I think he's completely sacrificed that and said, I don't care about that. I've just, I've got an audience that will come and see me in a, 3,000 seat, 5,000 seat, whatever it is. I'll do that. Fine. Happy with that. And he seems to be very content. No, completely.
They'll be £200 tickets, Simon. The ring.
Well, indeed. Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm not saying it's not, not still financially worth it, but not on a, 200 ticket size, 50,000 is lots of money. But you've got to put on a big show, and you've got to, you've got to get yourself organised, haven't you? Whereas if you're playing a 2,500 seater, it's a bit more intimate. You can, put some carpets down, couple of backdrops, and you're away, kind of thing. So it doesn't need to be so quite high, high tech and high powered, because you will then concentrate on the music. So I think
that's one of the reasons why Jimmy Page keeps going back, reproducing, re-engineering, and remastering their back catalogue, because, like you said earlier, he doesn't have a gig. He's not gigging, so to keep his artistic flame burning, he's
he's the custodian of Led Zeppelin, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he does a pretty good job of it, really.
Yep.
Keeps it in the in the public eye. Keeps every so often does new stuff. I mean, he does what you have to do to run a business.
Yep.
And I think he probably does it very well. I think I don't think the Stones haven't really done much of that, have they? They haven't done much like re-releases with extra tracks and bits of they haven't really gone in for that, have they, at all?
Or Exile on Main Street in 2010.
Did they do
they re-released that, and that was remastered. They've had a couple of remastered albums, but that sort of, I suppose, gets us on to the next part of the program that you and I were talking about earlier, on picking some topics, and that's the on-air CD, which I have to admit, I've got to stick my hand up. I never paid any attention to when it came out 2 years ago. I just thought it was a collection of the earlier songs. Didn't pay any attention to it. And I'm a Stones nut, so I'm embarrassed to say that. I got a heads up from Dave, who joins us in the chat regularly. He sent me a clip saying, check this out. And then I watched it and realised, oh my gosh, they actually remastered a lot of those live songs, Simon.
Yeah. I was having a look at it, and it's the remastering the Abbey Road thing that they do, which must be like a massive graphic equalizer, doesn't it? So you can isolate quite small bands of sound, and then kind of you can do things with them. So you can take out superfluous hiss and things. I was quite interested. They took out too much hiss on one and put some back.
Yeah, because it sounded slower. They said, the tempo. Isn't that amazing? So the background, the ambience behind the vocals, behind the music, actually has this
So
effect.
speed it up. Yeah.
I found that fascinating.
That's really weird, isn't it? Yeah, it's been well, and yeah.
So is that part of the mojo? Is that part of the mojo of a live record, Simon, of a live recording? Because they're all live, those songs.
They are, aren't they? Yes, they're all live, and they come from various different. They come from BBC shows. From around the place, and so. Yeah, and obviously not, not able to do anything with them other than clean them up, which I think is probably right. Not nobody's coming and overdubbed a few more guitars, or knocked off some mistakes and stuff like that. Well, I didn't particularly hear any mistakes, but yeah, that to me what they show is that what a tight little rock and roll band the Stones were in the early '60s.
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm on fire like you. I've only been listening to that to that record the last 3 days. So I'm sitting there listening to these songs on my AirPods, going, "My God!" Roll Over Beethoven, for example. You know. Clearly, Brian Jones is playing his Gretsch, so he's doing that Chuck Berry riff.
He does the Chuck Berry riff, does he?
Yeah. So he's got that going, and then you've got Keith. It's just phenomenal, and they're playing quite clean. So they weren't sloppy guitar players.
No, but you're right. That's the other incident I noticed. How. And I think she's not. I think she's fine. That it's quite. There's a lot of space in it, isn't there? You're right. They play clean. There's not. Oh God, we've got to fill up the space. There's two guitarists, but they're not filling a massive space. Neither is the bass player. There's plenty of space for it all to breathe, which I think is a good thing myself. Later, they'd all have these distorted guitars and kind of filling in the space, wouldn't it? Making the guitar sound huge is a thing, isn't it? These days, you're going to make a big guitar sound, wet, dry, wet.
I want to ask you another question. So I listened to that, and I've been listening to the Beatles live at the BBC Volume 1 and Volume 2. I think Volume 1 came out about 20 years ago. And they released Volume 2 about 3 or 4 years ago. So what's interesting is when I listen to the Beatles, you hear the Beatles singing. Okay, they're singing, they're harmonizing together.
Yeah.
But you listen to Keith, and Keith has got that Cockney acting vocal going on right from like he's got a bit of a drawl going, Simon. He's got characters going on behind his voice.
So he's the guy. He's doing the harmony stuff, is he, Keith? I was going to ask you about this because that's one of the things I noticed. There's harmony. Quite a lot of harmony singing. So he does the harmony singing, does he?
It's got to be him and or Brian, surely.
Did Brian sing? I can't remember when Brian. The trouble is, when you often see them on Ready Steady Go or something, they're obviously miming, aren't they? So you can't.
That's correct.
Mick has the mic, so you can't tell who else is going to be singing. I don't think Charlie sings, does he? I've never heard anybody claiming that Charlie Watts is a great backing vocalist, but so I presume Bill never sang either, did he? Bill Wyman, did he sing? I don't know.
No. It's got to be Keith first, and then maybe.
Because Keith Brian sings, doesn't he? Happy and stuff. So there is a precedent there. So I was wondering about that because I thought they were really good. Actually, I thought that the interjections of the harmony singing stuff was good. That they obviously sing properly. Sang in tune with Mick, and they sounded pretty good. Yeah.
But Mick's got that courage, even back then, that early on, to not just sing, but to put on a character behind his voice.
His mid-Atlantic is a
Yeah. He's not scared to put a drawl in. You know, he's not scared to be like whispering. Yeah, it's fascinating,
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
opposed to people who are just clearly singing.
Indeed, yeah. Yes, completely, and that's what they do, and those. But clearly, they had three singers, or four because Ringo can sing,
Oh
and stuff
yeah,
like that. So you could have had a cracking 4-part harmony stuff going on there, couldn't you, with the
oh
Beatles and stuff?
phenomenal. Yeah.
But yeah, that I mean McCartney and Lennon McCartney singing together, really cool. But also very well known for for being able to do that. Singing in the fifth, isn't it? It's the Everly Brothers. Well, that early
Beautiful.
Beatles stuff is Everly Brothers. Is it fifths? I think it's a fifth.
Yeah.
Above, Paul McCartney, brilliant, absolutely brilliant vocalist.
Outstanding. You've got that highness that Paul offers, and you've got that width that John. When I first heard the Beatles, I fell in love with their singing first, Simon. Their singing was just
Yeah. No, completely. I agree with that. That's one of the things that struck me about for first hearing "Hard Day's Night" and "Help."
yeah,
When I was a kid, it's absolutely the singing. First it's the singing, isn't it?
yeah.
And as you say, the kind of the slightly rougher, John Lennon's slightly rougher voice and Paul McCartney's smoother voice, and fits together beautifully. And fantastic. Worked it all out. Off you go.
When I first heard hide your love away, hey,
Yeah. Hey,
by John,
you got to hide.
man, I had no idea when I was 13 years old that he was ripping off Bob Dylan. Yeah, well, that was his tribute, not ripping off Bob. That was his tribute to Bob Dylan. I had no idea then. But I remember listening to that thinking, wow.
I know, yeah. Because in effect, it doesn't. With that, it doesn't matter that you don't know that Bob Dylan's influenced him to start doing something else. All you hear is this brilliant tune, brilliant words, brilliantly sung, and you go, that's brilliant because it's brilliant, and never mind, and I think that the key thing about taking inspiration from other people, and that's rather than just it's not ripping him off, it's taking inspiration but making it your own, and coming up with a beautiful song. Fantastic song.
And did he make that his own? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did he make that his own?
Yes, completely. And I think that's that's it. That's the best form of inspiration or a tribute or whatever it is. I understand acoustic guitar and stuff. Oh yes, all right. Well, let's do some of that. What can I do? And bingo. In the osmosis of I'm John Lennon and I've written a song, it comes out not like Bob Dylan, it comes out like John Lennon.
And then he goes and writes the next album, Norwegian Wood.
Yeah. See?
Oh, you know what? We've got to do some Beatles shows, man.
Beatles shows.
Yeah. And Norwegian Wood is just jaw-dropping.
Yeah. But, and yes, yes, when they started obviously getting into the thing, but all that early stuff is all recorded live. It's all like four blokes in a room. 1, 2, 3, 4. And off they go.
On 4 tracks. Oh no,
yeah,
2 tracks.
2 tracks. Yeah, straight.
2 tracks.
2 or probably 4 a bit, but nevertheless not very much, and stuff. I'll tell you what though, I was watching the other night. Talking about, I was watching just a bit of the tribute to George Harrison. The concert they did at the Albert Hall.
Oh, it's fascinating.
But I was watching the Paul McCartney bit. But I'll tell you what struck me the most. Damn, that Ringo Starr, he can swing. What is drumming? It's like him and Ray Cooper. I don't know if you know who Ray Cooper is. The percussion player.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's playing. They're playing these, and it's like going, the swing is just tremendous. But in contrast to now, where there is no swing ever, but when it arrives like this, and you go, Christ, that's what it is. Look at that, boom. Yeah, and it was it struck me forcibly. What a great drummer, and he had him and Charlie as well. What something has it too, but that they just got that, that way you got that swing where people danced to it because it had swing.
Well, the highlight for me on that DVD is Paul McCartney, and he's standing
well, that's
there,
what they were showing. Yeah,
and he's talking about how they used to get together in the lounge or the living room or whatever,
with the ukuleles.
room,
Yeah,
and then he starts playing, and then he's going into something, and he's playing it really well. And then Clapton comes in and whacks in, and then the drums, like you're saying, Matt.
Yeah. But they showed a song. He did something else before that on. I can't remember what he did. Anyway, but I was forcibly struck by how brilliant, how it, and you could see, and you get that swing, and you go, yeah, that's it.
Rick Beato talks about that. Rick Beato talks about that too, doesn't he? That's one of the reasons why he's so critical of modern music. Besides the fact that it's all got that 1 4 5 6.
That's it.
Yeah, and there's no swing. There's absolutely no swing in whatsoever.
No, and plenty of rock, no roll. But and so it kind of it's always nice to be reminded, isn't it? Because people talk a lot about Ringo drummer, it's like and I've heard some people talking recently, that they'd heard Ringo and Paul McCartney's stuff on. It might have been some Abbey Road stuff, they went and interviewed George Martin and Giles Martin, and they put them up, and they said they were unbelievable together. Just the two tracks, just Paul McCartney's bass and Ringo's drumming, as a rhythm section. Never mind anything else. Never mind, writing songs, whatever. As a rhythm section of any description, they were brilliant.
Well, the new Abbey Road collection that's coming out, the 50th anniversary, Simon, that has got a lot of that stuff that you're talking about, and I can't wait to get my hands onto it because
me neither.
It'll be a treasure trove, exactly what you're saying. We're going to look back, and fans like you and I, who've been fans for a long time, are going to renegotiate our love of the Beatles in a different light when we hear this and go, shit, they were pretty, like you're just saying, Ringo was pretty bloody good.
He's a fantastic drummer, and all those things that he does that makes those songs, into what, let's not underestimate, only a drummer. Yeah, right. But the drummer sets the tone, the swing, that, does all the fills, he does all the things to accentuate various bits, and he does it brilliantly. It's not, you couldn't have had anybody else in the Beatles, he's not very good. Oh, no, he's not very good. He's bloody brilliant.
There's a cool scene on the anthology DVDs where they're interviewing Ringo, and he said that someone's asking him to, I forget the correct musical term, for something, the drum solo at the start where it goes,
yeah.
And there's a proper term for that. And Ringo's, what do you mean? And then the guy tries to explain it to him, one of the engineers or something. And then Simon goes, then Ringo goes, oh, okay, so I'll just play this then. And he goes, yeah, that's exactly what we want.
Yeah, that's it.
He didn't know the technical term for it, or or what that sequence is. But yeah.
But intrinsically know what to play, and be, it's the Beatles, like, all the best bands are greater than the sum of their parts. George Harrison might not be the greatest lead guitar player in the world, but nobody else plays guitar like George Harrison in the Beatles. All those beautiful Beatles things that he did, those little, the things that you remember, all the songs he brought. I mean, you know, you get Eric Clapton, and you get something completely different, don't you? You can get George Harrison
absolutely.
stuff.
And we spoke about that last week. You know, Soda asked me who's the better guitarist. In my opinion, for the music that I like, you know, I'm going to put my hand up and say Clapton. But
Sure.
but does that mean that I think that George Harrison isn't good? You know, that Beatles for Sale album, it's just phenomenal. He's playing his Gretsch through an AC30. It's fantastic through that top boost.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Eric Clapton said in his biography, when he went along and he watched these guys and he's standing there and he looked at George, because, you know, he's a guitar player, you know, there's a bit of competition going on there. And he said, you know, he said, straight away, I knew that this guy came from a different tradition, i.e. he wasn't a blues guy. He was more of a rockabilly, rock and roll.
Yeah.
And he said, I knew this guy was good. You know.
Yeah. Yes. Good morning, Jack Daniels.
G'day, Jack. Good to see you, Jack.
101.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Jack, again.
Yeah, thanks for dropping in. Yeah, George, you know, has that sort of sharp thing. But and for me, you know, it's very easy to go, well, he wasn't very good, was he? He bloody was, you know, and all those things he played in the Beatles that nobody else could have played, would have played, did play, you know, that made those songs as brilliant as they are.
Jeff Emmerich doesn't say nice things about George in his book. It's a
not personally.
Oh, well, you know, about his guitar playing. He always. So So this is what's interesting, and it pisses off a lot of Beatles nuts like us, Simon, because he says that George couldn't get things as quickly as John and Paul did. You know, they got something quick, and George was there half an hour later doing the riff. But if you talk to people who knew George was a perfectionist. So the fact that George was spending another half an hour or an hour more practicing a lick didn't mean that he didn't get it, you know, or he was behind the eight ball. It's just that he was a bit of he maybe didn't have the naturalness that John and Paul had at the start, because he had to work on his songwriting. But when it came to his guitar playing, he was a perfectionist.
Yes, completely, yeah. And I think that some musicians have to kind of grow into it, don't they? You know, they can't just, some musicians will just turn up, nail it. Other musicians need a bit more time to kind of get into it, get the feel of it, get the vibe and stuff like that. So I think,
everyone goes on about Mike Campbell being a great guitarist and he just plays the song and plays the fill for the song. You know, George Harrison was doing that back when they recorded "She Loves You." You know, he was, you know, he was putting in the fills. You know, he wasn't being overly flashy.
No wonder Tom Petty and George Harrison got a band together.
Good point.
Not a dissimilar
the Traveling Wilburys.
Yeah,
good point.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. You know, and they were, it's Gussie's saying that his wife is buying him the Jeff Emmerich book. So yes, I wouldn't mind reading that as well. But
it's 90% good. You know, I found it fascinating. I just a little bit critical. A little bit critical of his comments about George. I don't think they were quite fair.
No, well, well, people have their own opinions about it. And it may be, that it's that thing, isn't it? Where you're going along, and then George comes in, Paul comes in and knock it off, and John, and and then you think, oh god, Mr. Harrison's going to take another hour to do his tiny little bit. Maybe that does become annoying. I don't know, but because there's different ways of working, isn't it? And maybe Mr. Emmerich didn't quite adapt to somebody else's way of working. Was used to that live, putting it out, 1 or 2 takes, bang, kind of thing.
Oh well,
maybe that's not George's thing.
if George only ever wrote one song and it was something, what a song! Yeah,
No, completely, yeah. But I think there's an argument, isn't there, that the best, the best post Beatles solo album is George's.
All Things Must Pass.
All Things Must Pass.
Fascinating, phenomenal. Yeah,
phenomenal.
Eric Clapton and Derek and the Dominoes are the backing band, Simon.
Well, indeed, yeah. And and there's an argument. Is All Things Must Pass. You're not telling me Imagine is a better record than All Things Must Pass? I don't think it is.
No. All Things Must Pass beats Imagine.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. Yes, it is. I know about beats, but you know what I mean. It's in no way inferior to the stuff that Lennon put out or the stuff that McCartney put out, is it? No way.
No,
probably
no.
You can argue that it was better.
Yeah, All Things Must Pass, and the double album that they did a couple of years ago is just phenomenal.
Jack Daniels is doing a me, and he's scurrilous rumours. Did Paul really record all of Ringo's drum parts? And did Paul really die and replaced by a doppelganger?
Oh yeah. Paul's dead. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Bare feet on Abbey
Road. Yeah.
Jack, that's alongside my Keith Richards no longer plays anything in the Rolling Stones. He mimes and somebody else does it. which is not true, but just scurrilous tales.
There's something going on there, though.
Yeah,
there's something going on.
Him down. Somebody's turning him down.
No, I agree with you, Simon. I agree with you. There are categories, and you and I and Carl, we've always said it. Let's not be scared to rate and pick something, and say, look, I like this better than that, or at the moment, I think this is better than that. I'm happy to, I never particularly liked a lot of Lennon's solo stuff, and I gave it a good shot for 20 years. 20 years, I've given it a good shot.
Yeah. No, completely. Yeah.
Double Fantasy's got about three or four good songs on it, but
I've never been a great fan of that particularly. But I got the deluxe CD version of All Things Must Pass.
Yeah,
come on,
Oh,
it's a phenomenon.
Apple Scrubs. I just.
Yeah.
No, I can promise, Simon.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Give me.
Sorry, I just wanted to make the point.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, at that point that that if you think about the Beatles solo stuff, All Things Must Pass is right up there.
Yeah.
Lennon or McCartney didn't do better stuff than All Things Must Pass.
Yeah. No. It doesn't get acknowledged as much as it should do, and I'm glad that you and I and Jack Daniels in the chat and Gussie
think so as well.
Agreeing with us.
Gussie's Keith Richards' blood transfusion in Switzerland. one of the great rock and roll stories, Alice. If you're a rock and roll star, that's what
he just said that he went there to eat chocolate.
Yeah. But because I'm old enough to remember those stories. In the late 70s, the story that Keith went to Switzerland every year to have his blood
transfusion.
Which is
people believe. People believe it.
Well, I don't think I quite believed it, but because you couldn't really work out what it did. But there's an element of like when obviously at some point you found out it's really not true. You go, really? That's disappointing. I was disappointed it wasn't true. Because that's such a great rock and roll story. It's right up there in my books.
That's such a Keith story, isn't it? Yeah.
It's such a Keith story. Yeah. That I slightly. Yes. Lol. Chocolate. Yes, chocolate from Switzerland is a bit of a cliche, isn't it? It's the same thing as Keith sniffing his dad's ashes as well. It's like,
Smoking. Did he smoke or
Was he
snort it?
smoking still? Was it sniffer or snort? I can't remember. But anyway, yes.
That's
Anyway,
a bit
his
weird.
dad's ashes.
That's weird.
and falling out of
Simon,
a tree.
yeah,
I mean,
that's weird.
Yes, that's weird. Oh well, yeah, it's weird. Yes, absolutely. Some weird voodoo thing, but yes, it's irritating. And when he fell out of a tree, so Keith's out of his tree. Yes, it's wonderful. But these days, people don't do that stuff now, do they? The youth does not do that sort of. It's not that kind of, that kind of thing. Sadly, all those mad things that people did because they didn't know any better. It's sad but true. But anyway,
and I agree with Jack. Jack is saying, that Lennon's solo stuff has a place in history. Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying it's bad, but I like Imagine. I like that those couple of early, But I think the point I was making was that George Harrison stuff is right up there. Never mind criticising George Harrison. Go and put All Things Must Pass and come back and tell me it's appalling.
The great thing about All Things Must Pass, you've got some beautiful melodies, beautiful songs. You've got some great singing, some good guitar work going on there. You can hear that rhythm section, which is no surprise. That rhythm section is so tight. Because it was the same rhythm section that was playing with Delaney and Bonnie. So there was a vibe going on because George was with them too, and they did some gigs too. So there's that whole vibe, Simon, which is important.
Yeah. Well, that's right, and yes, and that thing about
get my dog out.
Okay. That whole thing about people playing with other people, and wanting to be in bands. We've talked about, but we've talked about the sort of Clapton's move from being, guitar god to being man in a band, being, to be wanting to be a bit more anonymous and a bit more in a band with, quite a lot of other people. And George was around that as well. Well,
Thomas the Tank Engine. That's right.
Nothing wrong with that, if you're,
I forgot that. Jack, I forgot that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfectly. Ringo's dry, Liverpudlian, perfectly suited to Thomas the Tank Engine.
And he's so good in Hard Day's Night when he's walking around lost there, and by the canal, and he meets the girl and puts the coat down, and and then over the hole, and he walks. Some guy walks and it falls in the hole. It's just,
lovely.
It's And guess what, Simon? Kiwis get that because we're part of, we've got a big solid
sort of British
English
tradition of slapstick and
we get it, and the Australians got it too.
I know, and of course, the American. Sorry, now we are going off on a tangent, but the Americans, all that, the American silent movies, with Buster Keaton. The master that is Buster Keaton, where those buildings would, he'd stand there and the building would fall down, and he'd be in the window. That, by the way, that's not a special effect. That's a real building falling on. All that swinging around, on, 6 stories up, that's swinging around 6 stories up.
Okay, we can't forget the Canadians. Gussie's saying that they got it too.
Yes, Canadians too. Yeah.
Being British, being part of the.
That kind of humour is kind of universal in many ways, isn't it? The slapstick, people falling in holes and people covering coats with holes, up to your neck in it and stuff like that. Yeah. But, quite right too.
So we're going to have to do a couple of Beatles shows, Simon. We've got shitloads to talk about.
Anyway, Buster Keaton. Let's discuss his. No, let's not do that. I think we have to do some Beatles things. Yeah.
I think probably. Fun. I think what we'll do is we should probably wait until. It can't be far away. The Abbey Road release. That must only. I think it's only a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, but we'll do that. We should do that well, and probably give it 3 or 4 shows, just to talk about the Beatles because the way that we go off on tangents and all that, and there's a shitload to talk about too with the Beatles, isn't there? You've got the early albums, you got their cultural significance. There's a lot of reviews there for us to talk about as far as good books and bad books, and that Ron Wood movie that came out a couple of years ago, 8 days a week. The touring of the Beatles. That's just fascinating.
Ron Howard one, yeah, that was really good. Yeah. Let's see when it comes out. 50th anniversary. Oh well, it's on pre-sale. 90 quid for a 50th anniversary edition.
Jack was technically at the Beatles when his mum went to see the Beatles in '64. Well, congratulations, brother.
Are you claiming technically that the Beatles might be your father, Jack?
So technically, he was in his mum's womb. So he was
just asking.
Yeah, so 64. Wow.
Yeah, 64. Oh, he's a youngster.
The biggest turnout to see the Beatles was in Adelaide. What, 300 or 400,000 people turned out to see them?
Really? Blimey, yeah.
It was, Jack Daniels will probably tell us. Being an Aussie, he'll know that stat.
I was there before they landed. Sorry, Jazz. Scurrilously putting your antecedents to the sword. Apologies for that. It's the Abbey Road's out on the 27th of September.
Okay, so all right, so we can do some research, Simon, and we'll give that series the justice it deserves. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh shit, that's fine. No, that'd be fantastic.
Hey,
I think that'd be fun. So
you've been digging in closets and cupboards.
Did you see this? I'm like, yes, on my Facebook page. Yeah. Well, I knew I had them. Of course, I knew I had them. I didn't know where they were, which is quite funny. But I went through because I'm quite keen on having. I have the travesty of all. The travesty of all travesties for a guitar player. I have a Boss GT3 that I use most of the time because I know I should be banned from the Guitarist Union for that. But in the past, I knew I had these pedals, and I was like, oh, now. So as my family's away this weekend, I thought I'd go and find them. So I found them in a cupboard, and I was thinking to myself, I might put together a little pedal board, just a kind of fun, really. So this is the first one, but I don't know if people clocked this because it's not really. I've never heard people talk about this pedal. This is a Boss Dual Overdrive.
Well, I've heard about that. I've heard about that.
Yeah, people talk about the SD1 and the OD1 and all of that. But this has kind of because basically it's got a crunch and it's got a lead.
Yes.
So basically you can do lead time. So you put it on and makes it 20% louder, kind of thing, which is quite. I don't know if you could turn that way. Sorry. Yeah, you can see on this this side. That knob there does the crunch lead stuff. There we are. That's better. Okay, so it's not shining. So you says crunch remote lead, and you can have a little remote pedal on this side that that plugs in. But I'd forgotten this completely, and really, and nobody really talks about that as a Boss as a pedal thing.
Okay, so from if I remember rightly, that pedal can become a boost. Like a clean boost, but also you click it and it becomes an overdrive. Is that correct?
Well, yes. I think the lead bit must be the boost bit.
Yes.
And then you've got you set it to the crunch drive basically. So you set up your crunch drive how you want it, and that's interesting. It's got three. And you oh, I see. So you've got. Then you do a remote. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was just trying to remember how it worked. Yeah. So basically, I don't know if you can see this, but the knobs have two. Wrong way. Sorry. Go that one. That way. Yeah. The knobs have an inner and outer ring. Can you see that?
Yes.
See, I'm turning, and then there's the top bit, and one is for one. The the outer bit is the crunch, and then the little bit is the lead bit. So yeah, you set up your crunch sound, and then you can obviously press on it to do a lead solo or something like that. It gives you more kind of thing, which is obviously what I used when I first started.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't really hear people talking about this as a pedal or anything like that. But I always found it really good, really useful. Yeah, and an overdrive pedal, not a distortion pedal, but I suppose the crown jewel in what I discovered. I've got a Boss compressor and a digital delay, but I have got one of these.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are familiar with these.
That's the Mark 1.
The Mark 1, yeah, I think. Yes, well, the old one anyway. I've had it. I think I bought it for about £40. Apparently, I don't know if you saw in one of the comments was from a guy called Nick Shepherd. Did you see that on my Facebook page? Nick Shepherd is a contemporary of mine. He's an old friend, but he was in Bristol's premier punk band who were called the Cortinas, and he plays in a Stones tribute band. Nick, he lives in Perth in Australia, Western Australia, and he plays he does Rolling Stone stuff now, but he also played in the Clash, the last incarnation of the Clash. Which is funny, but he was saying, that's worth some money. I had a look, £250, maybe a bit more.
Easy, $400 New Zealand.
Yeah,
easy.
Janice Lala was saying that she'd sue one for about $450.
Okay, so that's
my retirement fund.
Yeah. Well, John Mayer uses that. That's on his pedal board. Kenny Wayne Shepherd, John Bonamassa, they all. I had the Blues Breaker Mark II, and I got rid of it. It was just.
Was that the little silver one?
Yeah. It was just no comparison to that, but I you know what, you need to probably put that on your pedal board, Simon.
Yeah. Well, indeed. Yeah. Well, we'll go on to sure. Yeah. Just got gain, tone, and volume there.
So when you bought that for £40, what year was that? Can I ask?
Yeah, it's about 95, something like that.
Was £40
earlier than 95? Maybe more like the early 90s. Certainly the early 90s.
So and £40 was the going rate for a pedal. It was
it was second hand. I bought it second hand. I didn't buy it new. I bought it in a shop a little guitar shop in Bristol, second hand, because I wanted a kind of, I wanted that kind of crunchy. I didn't want a massive distortion thing, but I wanted that kind of blues crunchy tone. And obviously, I think because I already had this, and I thought, well, need more than one drive. Even then, it's but yeah, it's a really good pedal. I remembered I had it, but to dig it out, and I'm going to set it up later and have a little play, see what it sounds like.
I would pay. If someone was selling that locally on Trade Me or something like that, I would get an overdraft to buy it.
Both of them, Jack. I'm not quite sure what you mean. Both of the first black screw pedals, not silver screw.
Oh.
Well, if you this will make you laugh, Jack. It's got 3 black screws and one silver one. Somebody's obviously replaced, not me. Somebody's replaced that to do with this, and yeah. So it's nearly original.
Highly sought after, Simon. Highly sought after by blues. By blues guitarists. You certainly has some mojo. And in fact, I've read a couple of reviews where guys will say that they would rather have that than the first issue Ibanez Tube Screamers.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I know my friend Chris Buck is. He's got one of those. I mean, I think he has something else on his pedal board that kind of emulates it, because I think he's got an old one that's not a bit creaky. So, but I think so he, as you say, John Mayer, lots of people have been using them to, as part of their sound, which is quite cool. it's quite cool to know. I was in the vanguard.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's
Placing myself
fascinating.
Forrest Gump-like in the centre of history, which is not true at all. But why wouldn't you? I'm just going to have a look at the SD2 Boss. There we are, dual overdrive. Yeah, Gussie says it's. Believe the SD2 came out in '93, which would be about right. Gussie, that's probably when it came out. It's probably about because I got my Strat in 88. So I would have sort of built up a little pedal board from that. So the early '90s, probably when I got that. So that sounds about right.
So, and you were putting this through your high watt.
Yes. Can you imagine the sound and the fury? But that's April '93 to December '98. There we are.
Jack's saying that people are asking for 300 US. Aussie dollars
for an OD1.
For his OD1.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, see the Bluesbreaker sells for $475 Canadian. Yeah.
Really?
Why? Yeah, Gussie sold his. Oh, his retirement fund went up.
Shit, that's close to $800-900 New Zealand dollars.
Yeah. That's a bit crazy, but it's funny, isn't it? That thing about you make something the first time. Yeah, and you never bet. What? There can't be that much in this. Jolly old Marshall. That can't be. But you said you had the newer one. And it just it wasn't very good. I don't know what the new ones are like. I've not. I've got the original, so I don't need to know. But you wonder. That really. £300 for it's like that's boutique pedal land, that isn't it? £250, £300, for it in the UK, and that's $400 kind of thing. And you should just have, really. There's nothing else that Chris has got. I can't remember what Chris Buck has got on his board that kind of emulates it, but they got the mojo. Let's hope the mojo keeps going and it keeps going up. My kids will benefit.
Yeah, I got rid of a few pedals recently. I got rid of my 5150 overdrive, a Hot Cake overdrive, a Catlin Breed overdrive that I got, which is supposed to emulate the STV amps that the Stones were using. But my holy grail overdrive Simon that I've got as my OCD. I'll never get rid of that. I just love that.
Yeah, the OCD. Yeah, yeah, that's really good, is it? Yeah, Jack Daniels decided his OD1 would look great as a tiger, so he coloured it in.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
It's about a mass of permanent black marker and original yellow colour. Sadly, Jack, no such boldness from me. This is all got the original colour and stuff. Yeah, but yeah, I'm going to plug them in later and see what they sound like. And I've got a compressor as well, just a Boss compressor and a Boss digital delay, an OD3.
Yeah,
DD3 digital delay 3. So, which is I think all right, pretty good stuff, I think. But and I've got my D&M drive as well. So I've got loads of drive pedals, drive mania I can have as a thing. But so yeah, maybe get a chorus pedal and and a tuner. What I need to talking of tuners, did you see that Anderton's video about tuners?
No.
Sorry, I'm now going off on some mad thing, but they made a thing about tuners, about the difference between the headstock tuners.
Yes.
That reminds me of something else funny in a minute. But the headstock tuners, because I've got a headstock tuner, I've got a TT Electronics headstock tuner, a poly tuner. I got it free with my from Anderton's, in fact, which is fine. But I've always thought that it tunes a bit flat against my Boss G23's got obviously a built-in Boss tuner.
Yes.
Now, and that seems to be like that tunes really well.
Yes.
Really, and I feel like the guitar is massively in tune.
Yes.
And so whereas I feel the TC Electronics one now, I've got it as long as it tunes itself with itself is fine, but it's just not quite in tune for me in a really annoying manner.
I agree with you. I had a pitch. Well, I've still got it. A Korg Pitch Black, and that never tuned properly. I've got this Boss headstock tuner, which is pretty good, but I use the TC Electronics app, and that's
on the phone.
On the phone.
Yeah. I've got a guitar tuner, TUNA, on my phone. That seems to be really good.
But you're right, Simon. They do register. They reckon the Peterson. Is it the Peterson Strobe's the best one of the?
Is it? Yeah. I think they had one of those, testing one of those. But it did kind of confirm my theory that they don't, and when Lee Anderson was playing, he was like going, an E sounds a bit out to me, and it sounded out to me as well. And if there's one thing, I don't know about you, there's one thing that really annoys me. It's guitar not being in tune. I spend quite a long time tuning my guitars.
So I'm sorry, Simon. I just this is amazing because Jack is saying something that I could never work out. He used the pitch pipe.
Yeah. You must have good ears, Jack. Is all I could say. Yeah.
I could never work out how because I had a pitch pipe too, and I think I threw it away.
Did it have the note that it was a pitch, or did it just you didn't know what it was?
I'm trying. How's it supposed to resemble an E?
It's probably a G. That's why it didn't resemble an E. But yeah, I was glad that Sorry, I've got on a tangent, but that somebody had made this video. I watched it all in this kind of anorak way, like thinking to myself, "Thank God for that." Somebody's actually said what I think, which is like it's all a bit weird, because when you're slightly, when it's slightly flat or slightly something, it's like, oh God, and then they don't tune it properly. Yeah, you don't have good ears. You develop good ears. That's true. You do.
It amazes me. Carl can tune a guitar by ear, Simon. I can't.
Has he got perfect pitch?
Oh, he can. He's it's pretty good. But I can't. I stick. But I can hear if it's out of tune. If that makes I know when a guitar is out of tune. But for me to tune by, I can't tune by ear, and I celebrate and take my hat off to those people that can.
Jack is admonishing us in the chat, but come on, you tune the A string to the pipe, then all the other strings to the A.
Is that okay? Right, so that's what I was doing wrong.
Hard work. What's funny is that maybe this is my bad, I think, but I don't know where it is, but my brother bought me back an electronic tuner from America.
Wow.
In about, I want to say, what is that? 1860, 1960, 1970, in the late 70s, he bought me back. Basically, it's like, it looks like a square. It's a bit thicker than this, but this sort of size, mobile phone sort of size, with a needle, with a set of things across the, you got a switch, put it on the E, then you switch it to the A, and so forth. It was manual, but you could plug a guitar into it. It was great for acoustic guitars because it had a microphone, but it also you also could plug a guitar into it as well, and it was really good. And I used that for years and years. I still got it, so I wonder where it is. I don't know, but yeah, really, really cool thing. So I've used tuners since then, since the late 70s. I mean, I wouldn't have. I think I used to take it out to gigs when I first started, and kind of you'd have it on top of your amp because you couldn't. There was no in and out. You couldn't put it on a board. It had a little stand. So you go. If you wanted to tune, you have to unplug your guitar, plug it into the tuner, tune up, and then plug it back in again. It's lovely. It's it's obviously Jack's obviously you've developed your ears, Jack, in a way that I obviously haven't. It's try. Gussie says try turning the gain down.
Yeah, I smiled when I read that.
Yeah,
I didn't
lovely,
want to interrupt you, but Gussie, I did have a big smile on my face. Yeah, I don't have a lot of gain, brother.
but so I think
yeah, I can't do it, Simon.
Well, I'm terrible kind of expediency techno, but I've got technology. I'll use the technology better than my ear. That's fine, But yeah, I'm going to sort of build myself a little pedal board. I think maybe I'll get a Boss tuner for it as well.
Wow.
Kind of thing. So I like a tune on a board more than anything else. Most importantly, talking of tuners. But yeah,
so you're going full circle, Simon. You're going from a pedal board to a multi effects unit back to a pedal board.
Right, I still use my Boss GT3 for gigs and stuff because it's all set up to do it, and it has it's perfect for those sorts of sounds. It's built out of steel. I've had it for eons. 20 years or something, and fallen over it, thrown stuff all over. It's like
you've shown it to us. Yeah, it's scarred.
Battered is the word I use. Yes, and yet it still bloody works every time. But completely. And for me, that's for me that kind of thing. Think about it. It's like just the standard Boss thing, isn't it? If you want something that's gonna work for years and it ain't ever going to break down, it's never, you're going to break it unless you do something really crazy. That it's you buy a Boss pedal, don't you? And it's still the standard industry thing to say is buy a Boss if you want something that's really not going to break. You bloody buy one of those because it ain't going to break. And there I am with it. Was it 93? I probably bought it in 93, 94. I've had it for 25 years, still going fine. It's so I take my hat off to Boss for that, if nothing else. That's right, Jack. Yeah, Boss just works. And my Boss GT3. I've had it for 20 years. And it just still works perfectly. Plug it in, off you go. It's got tuner and all the things you need, And for live gigs, do I gig often? Reasonably often. Yeah, I've got 3 gigs in September. We're practically a tour. But because we do a lot. We do obviously rock covers and stuff, And so we'll be doing Free Falling, where I'll need a kind of big kind of electroacoustic sound, and then we might do Won't Back Down, where you need a solo and a kind of driven guitar sound and stuff like that. And it's yes, Jack, you're right. Yeah. 2 things will be around in the apocalyptic world: cockroaches and Boss pedals. Yes.
And Keith Richards.
Yeah. So yes, that's right. And Keith Richards, yes. What sort of world are we leaving for Keith Richards? Have you seen that? There's a T-shirt, I think, or a meme that says, "What sort of world are we?" I'm worried about the sort of world we're leaving for Keith Richards. Oh dear, that's very funny. Yeah. So for me, the Boss GT3 is brilliant because you just flick up a bank. There I have. I've got a load of electroacoustic stuff. Flick down a bank, got some drive sounds and stuff and all of that. Yes, and Ursus to do transfusions. Keith going into his 1,000th year, and he's outlived us all. Let's hope not. So, Andrew? Did I notice a couple of weeks ago? Did you bought some new kits recently? Did you put something on? What did you? Yes, I can't remember what it was. You see, I'm so dumb. But what did you buy a couple of years? I'm sure you put something on Facebook a couple of weeks ago of something you bought. Or was I missing it?
We can talk about that probably next week because probably we'll probably
Okay,
want to,
fine.
you know, have a little bit of time talking about it. But before we end the show, I just want to talk to you. We were chatting earlier about these tribute guitars that a lot of the established guitar makers are coming out with, and so we've seen the clip of Fender with the new Telecaster, the Blind Faith Telecaster with the Brownie.
With Clapton, with the Brownie neck. Yeah.
What's interesting about that is, you know, they've gone off, you know, the guitar builder, the chief guitar builder, he's gone off and he's measured the neck and had a look at it. And I understand that, and I appreciate that for all, you know, that is as far as detail and reproducing detail goes, because, you know, we're nerds and we appreciate that. But I can't help think Clapton just grabbed the Telecaster body and screwed a neck on for a gig at Hyde Park, just for something to do, just to see how it would work, and it was nothing long term, and yet they're doing a tribute guitar. It's
it's that's business for you, isn't it? As we were saying earlier, you know, it becomes business, doesn't it? You know, and it's the latest that I don't know if the guys in the chat have seen this, but Fender are releasing, is it 50? I think it is 50. I may have got this around the wrong way,
100.
But 50, is it 50, 100 Telecasters, is it, rather than 100 Clapton Telecasters, where he put the neck from Brownie, wasn't it, onto the Telecaster, onto his Telecaster neck. And played with Blind Faith, and played that Hyde Park gig in Blind Faith, and yes, and yes, absolutely, you know, but I don't know whether later did he leave it like that, or did he put the neck back on Brownie, or did he get another neck for Brownie? He put the neck back on Brownie and then put because one of the shots in that film they did show a guitar in a case, and then the one that they built, which I assumed was the original one, which still seemed to have a Fender neck on it. Fender neck. Yes, Simon, it's a Telecaster, a Stratocaster neck. Yes, he used it for a bit, and then kind of, you know. But don't you think that changing of the neck is putting a neck on that you actually like, and you go, I really like this neck. I'll see if it goes on my Telecaster. Oh yeah, that works really well.
Yeah, because nothing happened to that Telecaster body after that. You know, it got lost, or it was, you know, at Hurtwood got thrown out with the rubbish when he was cleaning up at Hurtwood.
Oh, right. So he didn't have the body anymore. So right. So then when they measured the neck and took the neck, that was from Brownie.
That's correct. They went to where Brownie is. Whoever bought Brownie,
I was going to say, somebody bought it.
Yeah, and went and measured the neck, which is, you know, because the neck, apparently, if you watch that Guitar World clip, the neck on a Stratocaster, apparently it's got more of a radius as opposed to a Telecaster, which has a flatter radius.
Yeah. And obviously getting used to it. And it sounded like, I don't know if, and we just, I think that's a really, Jack, I think that's a really interesting point about, he says, I've got a Gibson Gary Moore BFG from 2010. It's my number one guitar, but I actually like the guitar more than because it has Gary's name on it. Because I think, you know, kind of a mojo has mojo. Some kind of mojo because you put somebody's name on it. That's a very interesting point, that about when you buy something with that sort of guitar, then it has a mojo to it because you associate with somebody. I think that's a really interesting point about that. But sorry, but one of the interesting thing interests me about, do you think he did it himself, Eric, or do you think he got his guitar tech to do it? Do you think Eric's a bit of a dab hand with a screwdriver?
Yeah.
Do you think
he did it himself? Clapton did it himself. He set up his own guitars.
Yeah. Well, one of the things they said, didn't they, that in that film, the master builder who built it said, Eric keeps his guitars in really good nick. you know, and and obviously, I'm presuming later life somebody else is doing it for him, but yeah, you know, even then he was taking good care of his instruments and kind of, you know, even doing that kind of mad stuff. You know, he was doing it himself. He wasn't getting a tech to do it. That's interesting. Hats off to him for doing it. You know, for sort of. But you know, he said himself, didn't he? He was kind of experimenting around, trying to find, you know, a post Gibson kind of guitar and stuff to deal with it. But yeah, the other thing we should say, the other thing that that's happening oddly is that Fender are bringing out these 100 Telecasters, and Gibson are bringing out the Firebird, don't they? The late cream Firebird, and 50 or so. Or no, I can't remember which one it is. Doesn't matter. But yes, you know, but in a very low key manner, seemingly. You know, Fender put out a proper vid with Eric playing it and all of that, and you know, and seems to be a bit of fanfare. Whereas Gibson, hardly anything at all. It seems a bit odd, but maybe they just sell them anyway. But
do you think Gibson do that though, Simon? Like Fender do make a big deal about these custom builds that they do. Yeah. They do generate a bit of a marketing buzz, bit of you know, to get behind the brand. You know, we see it with Eddie Van Halen's guitars. You know, and this Telecaster when it comes out, you know, it's going to be thousands of dollars. You know, it's not going to be a couple of thousand.
They're going to be $25,000, aren't they? Going to be very expensive. Yeah, they always are.
So a Gibson, you know, we know Gibson makes custom guitars or signature guitars, but they don't seem to make a fuss with them or a buzz about them that Fender do. Do you think that's part of their marketing failure or?
No, I don't think it is actually. I think that maybe the difference is, maybe I'm wrong about this, but those very expensive guitars like the Firebirds, you know, the Eric Clapton Firebirds, you know, stuff which they're making 50 or 100 of them, whatever. My guess is that actually, if they're not going to do anything else, then they don't need to do any publicity for them. You know, people will find out through the things, you know, and then 100 people will buy them, or 50 people will buy them. You know, you know, because you know there are, and we've noticed this that, you know, with those types of guitars, you know, there are enough people in the world who will buy those collectors guitars, you know, for a lot of money, stick them in a, you know, vault or a private room, you know. You know, some people like Johnny Bean and all those guys always jesting as it's all going to be dentists and doctors who buy them. You know, they're not going to really get played. They're going to get stuck in a vault and kind of, you know, as collectors things. Now, if you're only going to make 100 of them, you don't need to do any publicity, really, do you? You just need to send them out and they'll sell, you know, and they'll be gone. You know, like the EVH stuff all goes like that, doesn't it? And you know, the Jimmy
Guitar
Page
Center
stuff
are pretty smart. They'll know who's going to buy it. They know. Well, they know the customers, and they'll order 50 or they'll order 25. And
that's what they've done. They're both,
like you're saying, you know,
they're both in conjunction with Guitar Center, aren't they? Interestingly,
are you there, Simon?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Did I go?
Something happened.
Yeah, that's right. Little glitch.
But
so in effect, you don't need to do any publicity, do you?
What about the rest of their brand though? Which is something interesting that Fender do. Fender are quite happy to push Fender and create a buzz. Look, you and I, one guy on the arse end of the world, one on the top end of the world. We're talking about, you know, Clapton's, you know, guitars. It's an opportunity I think that Gibson should do, because I only found out about this Gibson Firebird when I made a comment on my blues guitar channel, which is a guy from England who offers a lot of lessons from the 1960s, Cream era and Clapton. And he made a comment to me when I said his Firebird is awesome, and he said, well, you know, Gibson are coming out with a tribute Cream Firebird soon. And I went, oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah.
If I had the money, I'd buy one. I'd love that guitar.
yeah. If we had $25,000,
Yeah.
but I think that maybe the difference possibly between I've noticed this with the EVH stuff as well, and Fender seem to do it a bit differently. The difference, I think, is that, so let's take the Jimmy Page one as an example. That's the most recent. Is that they made the very expensive ones, 50, very expensive tellies, and from they all sold for $25,000 or whatever. But then they made a Mexican version, haven't they? They've made one for sort of $1,200 kind of thing. Much more in the now. If you're going to do that and have a line of Jimmy Page, Telecasters, then publicity, because you're looking for a longevity thing, you're looking to sell that over a period of time, aren't you? As a kind of thing. What you want is longevity. What you want is publicity. Whereas if you're only making 50 or 100 or 25, whatever it is, that they're going to sell like that just through word of mouth, especially if you're doing it with Guitar Center. As you said earlier, Guitar Center will have the a number of customers who will buy those things, and so there's no worries about selling them without any publicity. But if you're not going to make any other ones, and they're just going to release those as a kind of limited edition, limited run, very expensive, high end, custom built guitar, then you don't need to generate the publicity for those guitars. Now, I think the flaw in that argument is that you're right that what you're trying to do is build a brand. You want brand, so everything you do should be about Gibson are releasing these, rather than just what they are. So I kind of accept that's not an argument that figures with this, but but yeah, I do kind of figure that if you're only making 50 or 100 of them, you've already got a customer for them pretty much before you've made them, regardless of the cost.
I just want to just touch base with Jack Daniels in the chat,
Yeah.
Simon. Look, I love Gary Moore too. Gary Moore. It was a sad day when he passed away. What, 5 or 6 years ago? It was a sad day. We all thought that he was clean. He was away on holiday, but he was on the bottle. But just phenomenal work. That Blues for Greenie stuff that he did, and that guy ripped. He could make a Stratocaster sing. A Les Paul. People have asked me, what do you prefer? Him playing a Strat or a Gibson? You know what, Simon? I don't give a shit what guitar Gary Moore played, because he was just fantastic.
How weird. So I'm just looking up. He died on 2011. So he died. He died
8 years
in
ago.
he died in Estepona, where I was on holiday. Yeah. That's weird, isn't it? I didn't realise that.
Wow.
Yeah, probably I hadn't realised it. Just having a look. Yeah. But yeah, you're
Time
right.
flies. Time flies.
It does. Yeah. 5 years ago, or yes, 8 years ago.
Wow.
Not much fun, is it? No. But yeah, but yeah, phenomenal player. And I'd buy a Jakey Lee Charvel if I could find one I could afford. Yeah. I just think I think going back to this point, I think that there's a difference between the two things. Really, feels to me like there is, but I don't know who. It's interesting that the highest profile stuff they make is from guys from the 60s. I suppose the last person, really famous person who's had is Slash, isn't it? Who really had a signature guitar. Slash. I mean, lots of people have signature guitars now, but not to the same extent. I would have thought. I mean, it's very difficult to know. I'd love to know how many. I don't know. Well, take Jack's example. How many Jakey Lee Charvel have shifted? Have they sold hundreds of them, or actually is it a tiny niche market? I have no feel for it at all. Anyone, do you have a feel for it? About if you buy an EVH, those EVH guitars seem to do pretty well. the you know, you can get tribute, whatever. But yeah, do you have any ideas about whether they sell it loads or not very much or whatever? If you're buying I don't know, John Petrucci, for instance, the signature model, do they sell loads?
Look, I don't know. I will say this though. They are obviously marketed towards fans and guys with discretionary income. Obviously the guys that are going to fork out, for example, $3,500 for a Clapton signature Strat off the shelf, and that's just for the standard one, not the custom shop signature Strats, which will go for $10,000. And then you're going to pay 25, 30, 40 grand for this specific one that they're going to be releasing soon. Look, I can understand that, Simon, because I've got a couple of Clapton Strats. I always wanted a Clapton Strat, but could never afford it. I'm at a point in my life now where I bought a 2017 Blackie Clapton Strat, and just recently, and we can talk about this our next show, I bought a 89 Clapton Strat with the lace sensors, and my 89 Clapton Strat just plays and sounds so much better than this 2017. It's just they're two different guitars.
Did you buy them second hand, or did you buy them from shops? Must be second hand.
The 2017 I got brand new. The 1989 I got second hand, and it's in pretty good nick. But what I want to say, Simon, is that obviously there's a market for these guitars, because if I could afford to buy that Firebird, that Gibson Firebird, I've always loved the Firebird. If I could afford to buy that, if I was in the States, I'd buy it, Simon.
Be down Guitar Center with your credit card, passing it over. Yeah. That's interesting. Whereas you see, I never would, because I don't feel, I mean, I can see you buying it as an investment. Yeah.
Clearly,
clearly, you buy it and stick it away or something. Yeah.
But I'd play
it. yeah. Put some mojo on it, kind of thing. For me, a guitar very much is a kind of tool, and I would want to take it out and play it. Now, I wouldn't be taking out my, a $25,000 Gibson Firebird. I don't think, unless I was going to do something special. But I'd be terrified that somebody was going to, turn your back for 5 seconds and somebody wandered off with it and stuff like that, or whatever, because it's somebody spots it or whatever. And all of that. I feel that that I would feel very comfortable about that. Whereas my sort of £500 guitars, it's all good. Nobody's going to necessarily run them. Well, they might do, but less likely to run away with it and stuff like that. Yes, I mean, Jack, you're right. You are making a purchase based on emotion and not on logic.
And that's fine. That's fine, because we're guitar players, and we've said this before, Simon. Guitars look cool. Jimmy Page playing Les Paul. 13 years old. That was cool. Clapton with the Stratocaster. Slow hand.
Awesome. Absolutely. It was cool completely. Yeah.
Slash with his Les Paul, or his
it's not Les Paul, as Jack just reminded me. Yes, it's absolutely a copy of a play authentic. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. But and that's what draws us, as young guys and girls. This is cool, and then we go out there and how much is a Les Paul? Oh my gosh, we can't afford that, so we get a copy, and that's what I did. I couldn't afford it. Off the shelf, Simon.
No, indeed not. No, I mean, I think Jack Daniels makes a really brilliant point, which is, I know I'm never going to play like Gary Moore, but I love his music. Having something with his name on it makes me happy. Absolutely, happiness. Is it worth what I paid for it? I don't care. Well, no, it is worth what you paid for it because it's made you happy for a long time, Jack. And we'll
So,
would I pay $25 for 25K for it if I didn't have any? Yeah, no, I completely agree with him about that. There we are, the signature.
Totally agree with you, Jack. Totally agree with you.
That's a brilliant observation, Jack. What price happiness? Yeah, what price of loving it every day. Whenever you pick it up, for you, it's got that mojo. It's puts a smile on your face. You're right. What price that? Whatever you want to pay for it, which is fine. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Jimmy Page. Didn't they bring? Jimmy Page had a tribute as a Les Paul, doesn't he? Does he? I don't know if he still has one with Gibson.
Yeah.
He's had one in the past, doesn't he?
He's had a couple. But again, I don't know anything about them. But I know I have.
Well, they have all that push-pull business, don't they? Everything is a push-pull and does all manner of crazy stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but yeah.
And they were cheap, Simon. They weren't cheap.
I'm sure they weren't. But yes. So I think that they're interesting. I think that that is. Do you feel as though they're exploitative in any way? That in a sense they're exploiting us as consumers to spend a lot of money on something
There's certainly
that is really only worth about 2 to 3K for the custom shop, whatever. You expect to pay 2,000 or 3,000 for it. Fender Strat. What's a Fender custom shop? $3,000 kind of thing. Pounds.
Well, I've looked and played 10 grand Clapton custom shop Strat. Is it any different from the $3,000 run of the mill one? No. But I didn't buy the 10 grand one. So.
No. Just as an aside, there's a couple of Jimmy Page standards, custom. They're about £5,000, £5,000, roughly £4,500, £5,000. Yeah, that's second hand.
Wow. So.
Hey.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Well, there's some here about £2,500. I think they seem to range from quite a lot to quite a lot more.
Wow.
I don't know which ones they are differently, but yes, to number one, number two, they're over 25K each. Woo! Yeah, but sorry, they're expensive. Yeah, did you? Yes, I've played 10 grand guitars as well, and definitely is the law of diminishing returns. I played that 10K private stock PRS.
Yeah.
My friend.
Yeah.
Has. Phil has. It's a beautiful guitar, but is it 20 times my my Japanese Fender Strat? It's not 20 times that for sure. No way. It's and obviously you're paying a lot for somebody to hand carve it and and all that stuff. And I understand that a lot of that money is in the manufacture by highly skilled people who you can't pay $5 an hour to. You pay you pay a lot of money to do it, and that's fine. And that's where half of the money is tied up for. I've also played, as I've played a 66 Strat as well. Which is sort of 20K's worth of guitar. And was it 40 times what my Japanese Strat is? No, it wasn't. It was as I've said. If my Strat is that, and then it was about that. So I had an extra bit on. Just width of sound and stuff like that you kind of expect. As I've said, I wasn't disappointed by the fact that thinking my Japanese guitar was terrible, kind of thing, by some distance. I was pleased about the fact that it wasn't terrible.
Okay, so there was a guy in New Zealand recently on Trade Me selling a 59 Fender Stratocaster.
Yeah.
For 29,000 New Zealand dollars.
That sounds bloody cheap.
So
A 59 Strat, a real one.
Yeah. A 59. I don't know if that's going to come through.
So that's about £15,000. Is it two New Zealand dollars to the pound? That kind of thing, roughly.
So it didn't meet its reserve. The guy brought it back from the States.
Right.
But I'm going cheapest, that 30 grand, Simon.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Let's see, American 59 Strat on Reverb.
Yeah.
I don't know when this was. Let's see how much this was. No. That's I was going to say £1,690. I don't think so. That's what you call a repro, not the real thing.
Yeah.
Sale. But
But they're always going to be an investment at that age.
Oh, completely, yeah.
The 59, what we're 2009, 2019. So how many years? That's 40.
Well, 59 to 2019 is at 60 years.
60.
60 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what are these guitars going to be worth then in 100 years' time, Simon?
Well, indeed, they're going to be more, aren't they? They're going to be. They're only going to go up. I think. Let's have a look. So So estimated used price on Reverb. This is price history. Currently May 19. It's about £14,500.
Wow.
So getting close to So that's about $28,000, $29,000.
Yeah.
So reasonably priced. Yeah. I'll tell you what's interesting. See, that's the 58, 59 Fender Stratocaster Sunburst, whereas a 1959 Les Paul is 250 grand or more, isn't it?
Easy.
Easy.
It's
really because obviously only about 700 of them were made.
Easy.
It's it's
and 90% of them are in Japan.
Are they? The Japanese are busily buying them up.
Yeah. They were onto it. These guys in Japan were buying them up about 15, 20 years ago, Simon. They knew.
Yeah. I wonder. Now we're into. Oh no, I'm into the minutia. I wonder how many Fender Strats were built in '59. Probably, obviously, quite a lot because they're not nearly as expensive. But yeah, it is interesting to me that for say 15 grand you can buy a '59 Strat, whereas if you buy a '59 Les Paul, whoa, that wouldn't get you the tuning pegs, would it? Of those things, but. Yes. I think Jack, you could easily be right about that. Yeah, sadly, but I, to go back to my original point, do you think that that they're exploitative to to collectors and to people like that? If you're just going to bring out a limited edition of 50 guitars, something like
that. I think it gets to a point where they want to keep it a reserved market. And as these guys get older, next year they'll come out with a Jeff Beck model. They'll come out with another, a Paul Kossoff model. There's enough guys there, Simon, for collectors to get interested in getting something that's a little bit mojo-ish.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, guys like you and I are just going to pick up standard traditional Les Pauls, or and just say, well, look, this is the closest I'm going to get to to a custom shop Jimmy Page Les Paul.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend $5,000 on one. I don't think my family would be very happy about that. Quite rightly, too. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, kind of thing. There's a certain amount of. I mean, my feeling about them is, that just producing another 50 guitars for another 50 collectors to put in a vault and kind of thing is to me, that's not. There's no fun in that. To me, the fun is in the fact that, that. And as I say, I think that for me, the Jimmy Page one is the way to do it. Where you're right, you produce 25, very expensive ones, but actually, you also produce one that's, they've made a Mexican one, which is, $1,200 or whatever,
Yep.
and which is, affordable to a lot more people. So if you want a Jimmy Page, I could go buy a Jimmy Page Dragon Telecaster, for $1,200, whatever it is, $1,400, within my price range, and I get a really cool guitar still, but it's available to us all rather than 25k, which is not available to us, and then none, if you know what I mean. If you just make 50 and then that's it, and they disappear, it doesn't have any effect on me. But if I like if you wanted one of those Gibson Firebirds, it would be cool if there was one for $2,000, wouldn't there?
Oh,
that you had a chance to buy.
Yeah.
That Gibson have put some time. They've done all the work on it. And get all the dimensions right, build it as a standard Firebird. You'd be interested in that, wouldn't you?
And
Because
I
it's within
think
your price range.
And I think Fender are testing the market out with this blind
Clapton.
faith Telecaster, because the next one that they do has to be Blackie. You can go and buy the Blackie, signature, with the treble boost and the mid and the mid boost. You can pick that up, but they'll go to wherever the guitar center that's got that Blackie. They'll measure it, and they'll do what they did with Eddie Van Halen, and they'll probably do maybe 400 or 500 of those, Simon, and flick them off for whatever price.
Yeah.
Hey, Soda.
Hey, Soda, how you doing? Welcome.
Because that has to be the one. If Fender are going to do a Clapton, authentic guitar, and that's why I was kind of scratching my head. This blind faith Tele, where does that sit?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I completely understand that. That if you're just going to make 50 or 100 of them, whatever it is, 100 of them, then that has no meaning for us, does it? They're just holy grail stuff, and they disappear. They come, they go. 100 people buy them, $25,000 each, disappear. And we never see them. They don't really impinge on us at all. Whereas, if Fender then bought out that guitar with the Fender headstock and all of that, and charged you, and they did the Jimmy Page thing, and you're going, oh. if it was for $1,200, you'd be tempted, wouldn't you? Because that's within your price range, and I think that then fans could buy it, and I'm all for if you're a fan of something, being able to get hold of it and make it much more egalitarian, so that everyone can buy one and everyone can own, rather than just 50 people can own one. Well done.
Well, Jack Daniels is saying that he's happy that Kurt's playing Greenie's Les Paul. Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, cool.
It's on stage, and I wouldn't be surprised if Kurt's taken that guitar into Gibson for them to measure, for them to do all their stuff on, and Kurt will get a cut, and they'll be flicking out,
Greenies for 25k.
Yeah. Simon, there'll be a market for it.
Sure. Well, it has a name, doesn't it? It has a sort of mojo, stuff like that. It's a bit like Bernie Marsden's The Beast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which, talking of that, I got to get this in. Did you see my Facebook? Todd Flowers put up that YouTube video of Bernie Marsden and Joe Bonamassa playing together.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Did you notice Joe Bonamassa had a tuner on the headstock?
Yes.
Committed the cardinal sin, Mr. Bonamassa. Red card for you. Todd and I were having a laugh about that. Is it?
I hope it was a vintage tuner that he had on his headstock too.
It should be a tuner from 1959. Quite right.
Yeah. I hope it's not a 2018 tuner, because that just wouldn't.
Yeah. That's it's always a frightful faux pas. No, it just made me laugh. I don't give a toss about that, by the way. I think it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, me
I'm not
too.
one of those people who goes, "Oh, you shouldn't be having that on your guitar." Blah, blah, blah. It's like, you do what you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, but I just the fashion police will be down on him. Look at him! Look at that with his 59 Les Paul with a tuner on it. Oh God! He had it turned backwards, so it was behind the headstock knife. But it was good. I enjoyed that. It's good old Bernie with the Beast, on his Mediterranean cruiser. But yeah, it did make me laugh, that as a thing, just for a bit of fun.
And as we've said before, and we've seen it on the Johnny Bean show when they've talked about Eddie's guitars, there's guys out there who in their 50s, 60s, who've got a lot of money, Simon, and they're going to buy these guitars,
Sure, yeah.
They're going to buy them.
Yeah, Jack, I agree with you. If I had the money, I'd buy some Jimmy Page guitars as well. But I haven't got the money. I've got children. Yeah. They eat it all. Yeah. So hard lines to me. Bank of Dad is well and truly open. But it's I suppose, yeah. As I say, my take on it is, I don't mind if you make 100 or 50, special ones, and you want to sell them at 25k or whatever. What I don't like is that we as fans can't buy them.
Yeah,
I think what I think is the case is that you and I as fans are able to buy them for a reasonable price, which is why I think the Jimmy Page for me is the right model, that people can go and buy that for the right to. Oh, Jason Wade, how you doing? Thanks for dropping by, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, I couldn't get my head.
That's the way to do it.
I couldn't get my head, Simon. We spoke about this, I think, was it last year, when we read that they were going to release that Dragon Telecaster. Now I get the Telecaster, and I understand its role in Led Zeppelin 1, and it wasn't a Les Paul. I understand that, but it was a cash grab, in my opinion, because when I associate guitars with Jimmy Page, it's a Les Paul.
It's
not a Tele, Simon.
No, it isn't. No, but yes, I mean, but yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's funny though, because obviously all the way through the the Yardbirds and and the early part of Led Zeppelin, he played the telly, not in those early films of him, doing stuff from TV shows and stuff. He's playing the telly, so it's just. But you're right. I mean, I too didn't. I joined the Led Zeppelin thing in about '72. I've always, all that associated until comparatively recently, associated Jimmy Page with the Les Paul. Absolutely. 59 Les Paul. I went to Led Zeppelin in '75. Old school. And Jimmy's there. Feet on the monitor with his Les Paul slung around his knees, practically. Yep. How did he play it so low? Anyway. So yeah, I think they are. Of course, they're cash grabs. Let's not deny the fact that Fender, Gibson, they're using people's legacy names to sell very expensive guitars, and make money, and publicity purposes and stuff. That's what a business is, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Business has no scruples. Business just has an ethos of selling something to somebody. I'll make something you're going to want, and if I make it exclusive, people are going to want. Same in cars, isn't it?
Yep.
People Ferrari will make 100 whatevers, and they'll be sold out like that, and us mere mortals don't even notice, really.
No.
We don't
I'm
inhabit that world.
I'm still driving my Volkswagen.
Yeah. Volkswagen Ferrari.
And before that, it was a Toyota.
Yeah, that's right. I've got a horse on my car. It's a dying horse, not a kind of thing. But it's but so I accept that their business is they go out to make money, and but as I say, from my point of view, the egalitarianism of having a $1,400, $1,200 thing, so that we're in the market for that, and we can buy a piece of that mojo, and if we want to, and stuff like that, still got buyer's choice, haven't we, to whether we do it or not. For me, is the thing, and just bringing out 50 very expensive guitars seems a bit, I don't know, that kind of bit elitist for me kind of thing. I mean, I don't want to pick on him, but because he does lots of cool guitars that people could buy. But, the EVH ones, that they've been bringing out recently in the last year, the Shark and maybe not the Shark, but the one, they bought out some, didn't they? They bought out
the 78
with all the 78 with all the they all signed and it and they cost whatever they cost $30,000 kind of thing, and there were only 25 of them or 17 or whatever it was, and then but you're an EVH fan, you don't get a chance to get even a snifter of that because because they don't come any they're not making one for $2,000 that you could buy $1,500 and to me that's the disappointing bit myself. Oh no, and here's Arvin Gaunt. How you doing, guys?
Hey, Arvin.
Hope you're good, Arvin. It's for me, that's where it should be, and I accept that business is business, and there's a certain amount of cynical opportunity to make money. Really, cynical's a bit of an O-top word, but there's an opportunity to make money, and they see that. Those guys with the names, and they go. The interesting thing to me is, they're all from the '60s. There's nobody kind of modern with the same kudos as those guys, and those '60s guitars that they used all have they have the mojo, the kudos, in a way that modern guitars and guitarists don't have, don't they? You just talked about Greeny's guitar and stuff like that.
Well, Fender have a Jeff Beck signature out, and they also have a Stevie Ray Vaughan signature and a John Mayer a couple of years ago. So it's just a matter of time, and Gibson are going to come out with the Jeff Beck Gibson, because he played a Gibson at one stage, didn't he?
Yeah.
But these are the guys, though, Simon, that are going to buy the guitars, guys of around our age and a little bit older, because is a 23-year-old going to go and fork out $5,000, $6,000, 10, 20 grand on a guitar? Probably not. He's going to buy the Epiphone Les Paul, isn't he? That's $700.
Which I kind of like the fact that people who have signatures, that have signatures that people can actually buy. I think that's pretty cool myself. That there's a point in sort of signature guitaring. And so for instance, Bernie Marsden, has a signature PRS. But it's not $5,000. It's an SE, so it's like 700 quid or something. 500 quid. Which I think is pretty cool. So if you want a Bernie Marsden, PRS, you can buy one. Save up a bit. You'll get a really good guitar, really well made. But within the reach of what you can spend, rather than even buying a Jimmy Page Les Paul for $5,000. You've got to build up to that, haven't you, by some distance?
Well, there's a huge market there for Fender and Gibson. Look at Keith Richards. That they could come out with a signature Tele. Gibson could come out with a signature ES355. That Mick the list is endless, isn't it?
Well, certainly McCorber. You could certainly make you'd certainly want to make a replica of McCorber, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Keith's number one guitar. It's
absolutely.
No, it's so do I. There's not a Paul Kossoff signature Les Paul as yet.
I don't think so. No, but that's what
I
Simon.
Don't think there's ever been either.
No, but that it will come. It has to.
Yeah. Jack, I agree with you. Yeah, obviously Bernie chose to have a PRS to an SE because he thought they would, But and I think that makes them, makes things more affordable. Things can put them in the, put them in the hands of more players and stuff. I think that's cool. Good. And if you feel that somebody's signature has a mojo and gives them a bit of, I think that's pretty cool. Jason, I agree with you. $450. It's fine for a guitar. You should get a decent guitar for that sort of amount of money these days. They're very cool.
Oh, absolutely. So that would be $1,000 here, and you could buy a shit hot guitar for $1,000. Shit, yeah. Absolutely.
And that's that's what I'd expect these days. It's that for that amount of money, you could buy a guitar you could do any gig with. You could play anywhere. You'd have a decent sound out of it. And it would be fine.
Yep.
Hold up. So it'd be solid. It would be stable. Plays really nicely. All that kind of gear. Stuff like that, which is which I think is it's really cool.
Awesome. All right,
Yeah.
Simon.
I think I wouldn't mind stopping if that's right. I've got to go and deal with my next door neighbour's chickens.
Awesome. It's always a pleasure, my friend. And I'd like to say thanks before Simon rattles off everyone's names of the chat. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Always a pleasure. And Simon and I will be back next week, and hopefully we'll have a special guest.
Gassing on about stuff as usual. Yeah. So in the chat, thank you very much, Jack Daniels. Tremendous, lots of contributions there. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. And Gussie Wells. And so I'm just scrolling back.
Roast chicken for dinner. Jack Daniels wants to know: is that what you're going to do? And Kubrick Lovers just popped. Kubrick Lovers just popped in to say g'day too. So sorry, Kubrick, we're off.
I've got chickens to deal with, live ones, not dead ones. So I might get eggs, but nothing else. So we're going to Jack Daniels, Soda, Gussie, with Jason Wade. Thank you very much, Jason, for popping in. Arvin, and yes, apologies, Kubrick Lover, as we're legging it as you appear through the door. But,
sorry, man.
Thanks ever so much for joining in, guys, and lots of really cool contributions there.
Thank you.
Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome.
Yeah. Bye.